everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Nancy from American Pet Professionals, and we are back with another episode of Digging into the Pet Industry. And we're airing on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So wherever you are watching from, thank you for being here. If you have any questions throughout the show, you can put it in the comment section wherever you're watching from, and we will go ahead and try to answer. I'm so excited for our next guest today. You guys are in for a treat. If you haven't heard of Dr. Nelva Bryant, you're definitely going to get to learn her amazing career. Hey, Dr. Nelva, how are you?
Great. How are you? Thank you for having me today.
I'm so happy for you to be here today. So, Nelva, we just dig right in and jump in on this show so we could get started. But I know you have such an incredible background and career, and I would love for you to get started and tell us, wherever you'd like to start, about your journey in the medical veterinary career.
Well, I'll just say I've always wanted to be a veterinarian, and I was blessed to be accepted at Cornell University. I graduated in 1993 and set off on a path that I actually did not know. It's amazing because I would not expect to be where I am today. I started off thinking I wanted small animal practice, but actually while I was in vet school, I fell in love with veterinary pathology. Did practice for a year, then went back to school for veterinary pathology residency, and then that opened many doors for my career. I joined the Army at one point. I switched to United States Public Health Service, and then that put me on a path of multiple opportunities and positions within the federal government, and kind of gave me the pathway and as far as developing a skill set to lead me where I am today. So I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, it's real. You button that up, but your background and your career.
Yeah, it was a long. Well, it's what, looking back, it seemed like it was long, but actually it was 20 years. Well, like I said, I did the Army and then joined the United States Public Health Service, and within that 20-year span, I did a lot of things that I just never expected to do. In the Army, wonderful experiences there, veterinary pathology, joined the Public Health Service and then Food Safety Inspection Service, worked with them, came down to CDC here in Atlanta, Georgia, where I am now. And I worked initially veterinary pathology, then got a Master of Public Health degree, and then switched to more veterinary public health related issues and became the SME for dog importation related issues. And retired in 1998 and then started looking for other opportunities. I was looking for something that would allow me to use all of my background and continue on with, in a sense, with transportation, dog importation regulations. And I was lucky and blessed to find an opportunity with Delta Airlines. And I've been on staff with them since 2018 and was brought on to help, in a sense, review and revise the policies for animal transportation. So I really have a blessed career. I did not plan for it to come this way. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't easy, but nothing worthwhile is. So there we go.
Yeah, but I just think that your career and your background is really incredible and fascinating because I've talked to and worked with a ton of different veterinarians over the years, and you were the first person that worked at the CDC, did what you did, and then your Master's of Public Health, and then being the first veterinarian to work at an airline, for safety and pet safety travel. Like, it just really blows my mind, all of the things that you've done in your career. And then also you were in the Army, you said, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for your service there. But just your career has taken so many cool turns and you have so much knowledge in so many areas. I think it's really quite fascinating. When you were at the CDC, what was your role as a veterinarian there?
Well, initially when I came on board, I believe it was 2007 when I came on board, I was more veterinary pathology. It was helping to set up a laboratory for animal research, basically, at the CDC location in Atlanta again. And was doing that for a few years. And I kind of got to a point where I was trying to decide, do I want to stay on that path or do I want to do an advanced degree that would allow me to do further? Because in a sense, I was almost kind of be stuck in a laboratory setting. So I decided I needed to do an MPH, thought long and hard, and applied for the MPH for practicing veterinarians out of University of Iowa, outstanding program. I did that within 2 years, and that just opened up so many doors for my career, and I'm really thankful for that. But yeah.
Wow. And now, you mentioned that are a veterinarian you were working at Delta, and then the pandemic hit, and now you're back at Delta. So,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I again 2018 started with Delta. The pandemic hit. I was laid off, but that was basically not because of say, oh, we don't want you, but it was because of the pandemic.
Right. Nobody was
And
flying.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
fine. So I'm a veterinarian, right? So I basically went full circle with my career and went back into veterinary practice. Started out with Pet IQ, doing more vaccine type wellness clinics and everything with them. And then I was asked to come back at Delta full time. So I've been doing that. But then I've also part time, what I'm doing is working with Banfield, the pet hospital, and on a part time basis. But I still want to stay in touch with pet parents and their pets and everything. So I still do that part time, and I'm also full time with Delta at the same time.
Wow. So you have very little downtime.
I actually don't, which is crazy. Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But in the meantime, though, as I mentioned before, we're saying during the pandemic, I was trying to find a way. Coming on to Delta, I realized there's things that as pet parents that can be done to help prepare pets for air travel. And I was presenting prior to the pandemic. I was presenting a lot of the information at veterinary conferences.
Oh, right.
During the pandemic, I figured, hey, I'm home. I'm doing nothing for a little bit. Why don't I start a Facebook group called When Pets Fly? And I figured that would be my way to educate the pet parent,
yeah,
how to prepare. So I've been expanding on with that, and I've gotten this past year, gotten marketing rep and folks to help with a website, and basically I'm expanding my social media presence with that, and also developing a website for When Pets Fly. So that's where
that's amazing. I know I was checking out your website before. It looks wonderful, and we will get to that. I want to backtrack for a second. Mm-hmm. How did it come about that Delta wanted to hire a veterinarian to work on your pet travel, all the things that you've done in your background?
Well, as far as I know, at the time, our COO had decided that he wanted a veterinarian on staff for Delta Cargo, and they advertised for it. And I'll be honest, I always say initially, the job description did not, in my opinion, hit what they needed. And I felt strongly, and I understand why the job description wasn't really detailed to say exactly what it needed, because they didn't know.
Right.
I think majority of the time, airlines, there is a space for us in the airline industry as veterinarians. The problem is airlines don't understand the roles that veterinarians can play, and that's the problem. But I thank God that Delta was open to hearing my idea and accepting my idea and allowing me the opportunity to work within them and everything.
So what do you do at Delta as a vet and in pet travel?
Well, again, it's reviewing and revising the policies for animal transportation. As you know, these past few years, a lot of the policies regarding the transportation of animals have changed. Yep. We had initially with the service animals, emotional support animals, that's changed. There's just plenty of regulations regarding it. Actually, coming up down the pipeline, there's going to be with USDA, there's going to be bird welfare regulations coming in place. So there's a lot of regulations under USDA, Fish and Wildlife Services, the International Air Transportation Association. There's a lot of regulations for animal transportation, and having someone on board that understands all these regulations, also understanding animal welfare, is a benefit to the airline. So I'm thankful for the opportunity. But again, I think there's a role for veterinarians in the airline industry.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. Do any other airlines have veterinarians on their staff to go over these policies and procedures and ensure pet travel safety?
I don't think so. As far as staff, I do know Air Canada has a veterinarian, but I'm not sure if he's on staff. But
so you're kind of the pioneering veterinarian in the airline industry, helping with these policies. It's really, that to me is just mind blowing, right? Because as everyday people, you don't think about all the things that go into traveling, whether you're traveling with a cat, a dog, a bird, horses, right? They just had the Kentucky Derby, and those horses some of those horses travel over the world. People don't even think about what goes into
Right.
moving animals, even when it
Right.
comes down to baby chicks, right, being transported.
It's all organized. Transportation. There's temperature requirements and limits for transport. There's a lot of things that has to be considered to transport animals. So, again, I personally think having, in a sense, a veterinary oversight regarding all that is very important for the airlines and for the safety of the animals getting to their destinations. So.
Yeah, I wonder, and I don't know if this is something that's going to happen with what you do at Delta, but is it something that can be done as a policy and procedure that is done across the board? You know, like what you're coming up with to be for all people that are traveling with pets?
Wow. You know what? That will be outstanding, but then that will be outstanding and it will be helpful for the consumer or the customer if it was a standard across the board policies for all airlines and how things are done, but it isn't at this time.
Right.
It can vary here in the U.S. with Delta might have their policies, American might have a United. Then you go internationally with others, KLM or Virgin, they'll all have their different animal policies. So it would be nice if it was streamlined. It will make it easier for the consumer.
Yeah, for the consumer, and I think for more veterinarians to work in the airline industry and have those safety protocols in place, because just like with the mask mandates, that just shows you, right? Obviously, they're their own entities, right? So they have their own policies and procedures, and they have to adhere to certain airline stuff. But I think it would be really interesting and be helpful for pet parents, because some pet parents, like you say, you can't have an ESA dog anymore on unless you're paying for the dog to be under the seat and all of those type of things.
Right.
But it's not just a general, like, we're going to wave you on anymore. And I'm glad about that, because it helps for real service animals that are going on and helping, people that need a service dog. So, or pet. I don't know if there's any other pets that are still considered service besides dogs, but
yeah. Right now, where they changed that, it's just dogs that is considered service animals.
Right.
And I know a lot of folks, individuals will say, hey, they could have a different animal, but what's being recognized is the dogs only as service animals.
Interesting. Yeah. So let's jump into a little bit about what you were saying before about being in the pandemic and starting a Facebook group and deciding to do consulting and all the things for When Pets Fly. Elaborate a little bit on what you do there.
Well, again, I'm still, in a sense, the beginning stages. My Facebook group really is, I think it's about 1.5 years since I've had it now. Okay. And I get questions. I used to get, actually now I'm getting more frequently. I get questions regarding, can we transport a pregnant cat? Can my 30-pound dog be transported in cabin? Some questions are kind of straightforward. Others could be more details, but I'm happy to get questions regarding the transportation of animals. Definitely one major questions folks have is regarding international travel, because again, that's not a simple thing. Yeah. A lot of time folks get confused as far as the requirements for the airline and then the destination. When we're traveling domestically, it appears that your requirements are only needed for the airline, but technically you do need it for your destination too, your destination state. So the assumption is the same when you're going internationally, and a lot of pet parents don't realize, hey, you're going to a new country and they have their own set requirements. So yeah, you might need your health certificates for the airline, but don't forget that country, because the worst thing is denied entry. Your pet could be, like I said, denied entry, and you return back to your country of origin at your cost, or mandatory quarantining at your cost, or worst case scenario, the country could say, if it stays here, humane euthanasia. So you don't want that to happen. Yeah. So traveling internationally, it is a big deal. It requires a lot of preparation, sometimes months in advance, to get all the documentation in order to travel. So folks need to understand that.
Now, is that something that people can find on your website? It's called When Pets, right?
Yeah. When Pets Fly, actually, oh, you're right. The website is whenpets.com. Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
But the name of the thing is When Pets Fly. And that is some information that we could provide regarding that as far as consultation. Definitely willing to assist with that. It's very detailed. Trust me, I just finished a international health certificate the other day, and it's complicated. It's look, as a veterinarian, It's complicated. So imagine for the pet owner thinking they did everything right. A lot of times they'll and I hate to say for this case, unfortunately, it came a few days before travel. You really need to prepare in advance. And when I say that, I mean, say 10 days, at least 10 days in advance, or at least more, if you're going to take the information to the veterinarian to make sure everything is in order. Thank goodness we did get it done, but it was kind of touch and go scary at the last minute.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when pets fly, I'm in that Facebook group, by the way, and I've seen a lot of questions come in the last couple of weeks from people asking all sorts of questions. So you have no downtime, and that definitely keeps you busy. But so what is your goal with when pets fly? When, you know, the website, what you're doing as a consultant, all the things?
I just want to be, again, I developed it because I feel there's a need for education for the consumer, the pet parent. There's a need for them to understand what they can do as pet parents to get ready for air travel. In the past, it's always assumed if something goes wrong, oh my goodness, it's the airline is at fault. But you know what? That's not always the case, because if your pet is, say your pet has an underlying medical condition, heart disease, lung disease, seizures, or what have you, and you decide to transport it in the midst of all that, and then there's a negative outcome, you can't really blame the airline for that. They had a prior medical condition. So as a pet parent, discuss with your veterinarian, is my pet fit to travel, fit to fly? Is he healthy enough? And it's more than just this health certificate that we always say it's a health certificate that's completed, but that actually just says, that document just states that the animal meets the vaccination requirements for the destination country for infectious diseases. So I can have a cold, but I also can have diabetes. There's two separate things we're dealing with.
Right.
So we need to realize and separate that out. A health certificate, passing that and getting one does not mean your pet is healthy. So review the medical records with your veterinarian. Make sure your pet is fit to fly. Another thing that can be done too, that folks don't understand, is you need to make sure they're in a compliant crate. That's the appropriate size for that animal too, because a lot of folks want to use the same crate they use when you brought your dog home. Want to use that same crate, keep that forever, and your dog now is twice the size or 3 times the size, and you want to shove it in there and think that's sufficient. But that's not sufficient for the animal. It's actually against animal welfare regulations. And also, if your pet has an underlying, arthritis or heart condition, what have you, it can exacerbate that during transport because now they're stressed.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could also, another main thing that folks don't do for their pets for travel is they don't get them acclimated to that crate or container prior to travel. So they stress out once they get in there, and they'll try to break out. And that's not good either. So there's a lot of things you can prepare your pet for air travel. And I developed this because, again, I didn't think that information is being shared properly.
Yeah, it was never in one place. So I'm so glad that you put that together, because it's so important for pet parents to understand that. It's also really important for maybe dog trainers to learn those things that they might not be thinking as a dog trainer as, a service that they can be doing, right? Because you're thinking of the regular dog training, right? Sit, stay, heel, all of those things, but helping prep a dog or a cat or an animal going on an air transport, whether they're in cabin or if they're in the belly of the plane, in the cargo area, I think is so important, because I feel like pet parents don't really think about that, and pet trainers may not think about that. And that could be months of prep ahead of time, not a couple of weeks. Some dogs, better than others, I would assume.
And then again, and it's not more than just, as you're saying, just for going in the belly and by cargo. In cabin transport right now, they've got to be trained to sit still inside of it and relax, and proper training is needed for that.
Yeah, definitely. So what is something that you'd like to see changed within the pet industry as far as manufacturers when it comes to products that pet parents can use?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, one product I know that's used quite often, of course, is your pet travel crate. I've gone to Walmart before, PetSmart before, and noticed a pet crate that would have an emblem on it that will give the impression to the consumer that it's airline compliant. But because I know the features of a compliant crate, I look at it and say, that's not compliant. So that's false advertisement for that consumer, and it will be frustrating for them because they'll arrive to the airport with their pet in that, and then they'll find that, oh no, that's not a compliant crate.
Oh, wow.
Very upsetting.
Yeah, you're trying to travel, and now you have your pet with you, and you don't have any time to go get anything else.
Yeah, you have everything you were supposed to do, and you thought you did it the right way, but guess what? That's not advertised properly. I wish the manufacturers of some of the pet crates will understand that and comply with. It's basically IATA, the International Air Transportation Association. That's the travel crate requirements they should follow, and not all of them. Actually, quite a few don't follow that, and unfortunately for the pet owner, they might be turned away with that particular carrier because of that. So
yeah, and as a pet parent, as a consumer, if you don't know and if you don't really do the research, you might think it's compliant and correct.
Right.
Yeah, so that would be a big thing. I think that could be something that could be universal in the pet industry for anybody that manufactures any kind of pet crates, that it goes through the, what did you say it was, IATA?
Yeah, IATA, yes.
Yeah, please. Get that compliance and make sure that it's regulated that way. So if anybody's manufacturers are paying attention, please try to do that. And also I'm thinking that if you're at the pet airport, you know how they sell luggage at all of those kiosks or all the places, and it would be really cool if they had a pet section of compliant air crates, right?
Never thought about it, but that is a good spot for them to do that.
Yeah, because if you're stuck and you're like, oh my God, you know, maybe before you go through the security or wherever, they could have a store there, just so people aren't, you know, having to cancel their flight and all those type of things.
Or trying to put their pet in their purse or something, and then I hate to say it, but unfortunately sometimes they'll do that and the ventilation is not there.
Right.
And you don't want anything.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. What is something that the average pet parent needs to know? I know you talked a little bit about some tips before about traveling with their pets, besides the training and prep, like just an average thing that a pet parent should know.
Don't give sedation to dogs and cats prior to travel. Not a good idea. Going into high altitudes does impact them. It impacts their respiratory rate and their hearts. Don't do it. It's almost the same as a person. If a person you just don't do it. When you're say how they say things shift during transport, safety is in cargo, and they always say things shift during transport. Well, we brace ourselves, right, when the plane is doing things. If you don't have that,
you're not bracing yourself, and then a dog
you're not able to brace yourself, so then you can cause more damage to yourself in the process. Don't do it. Sedation is not. Most airlines will prohibit it. It's not recommended by the AVMA. It's not, for the health of the animal. You can ways to get a pet to calm down. I know folks think, oh, they're stressed. They're going to be stressed. Get them acclimated to their confinement in their crates. Yeah, and I think it will solve your problem.
Interesting. That's really interesting because I feel like that's a common thing that people do or think to do is to sedate them or to give them something to relax them. So that's really good to know from a veterinarian that it's not good for their health. It's really interesting.
Actually, I read an article. Of course, it wasn't based out of U.S., but it was an article, and it was basically testing the cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone. It was testing those levels, and with animals during transport. I think it was a few dogs during transport, and there was no difference if they gave sedation compared to with sedation, which is telling you it's not really impacting them. If they're going to stress, they're going to stress.
Right.
It doesn't. There's no change with it. So just leave it alone. If anything, it makes it worse for them because now they're stressed and they can't do anything to right their body. They can't respond like they normally would. So,
right. Interesting. Wow. So that's a really good tip. So what is a misconception that it comes to traveling with pets? Especially people think of like, I would never put my pet in the cargo area. People think it's not temperature monitored. Like, tell me all these things.
I think it's a really strong misconception. And if someone wants to really research and find out the numbers, yes, there has been negative events. I don't think really currently there's not many that's
rare, though, right?
Social media makes it bigger than what it really is. But if you want to look at the real data and find it out, the Department of Transportation has it's an air transportation report where you can look at the live animal incidents and the number there are per year by, you can get it by airline too. Number of incidents. And these incidents could be injury, escapes, or deaths. That's what has to be, each airline in the US has to report that to the Department of Transportation. So you can look at the data, and they collaborate. They capture. I'm sorry, the number of animals being transported per year by cargo for the airlines too. So now you can put it in fraction out and say, hey, how many per so many? And gosh, I don't have the data in front of me, but the numbers are really actually smaller than what people think. It's smaller. I mean, this past for 2021, I think there were 20 cases. About 13 airlines reported them, and maybe out of say 250,000 animals being transported by cargo. So 20 out of say 250, which actually in my head is a little bit higher than normal. Years prior, it was actually even lower than that.
Yeah.
So, and I think it might be higher than normal now. I don't know what's going on, but got to figure that out.
Could be more people traveling, or just not people prepping their pets, or getting the right products to ship their pets. Who knows, you know?
I mean, and I understand any animal that dies, one animal died is too many, and it's understandable, or one incident is too many.
Right.
And everything, but it is still comparably to the numbers that are being transported. The numbers are lower than what everyone in their head has,
right,
and everything.
And again, I think I don't mean to interrupt, but I think when it comes to traveling on an airline, whether your pet's in a under the seat, right, or if it's in the cargo area, there's the safety protocols there. But a lot of people doing, they do road trips, they do all these things, and their pets are not secure in their car. Right. Yeah. So just drive down the street anywhere USA today, there'll be a dog with his head sticking out the window, or God forbid, a dog in the back of a pickup truck.
There you go.
That makes me absolutely insane. Or tied up to their neck. So if the guy slams on the brake or girl slams on the brake, so those are the things that I think about when people get really upset about not wanting to travel with their pet. I personally wouldn't put Cody in the cargo of the plane because he's noisy. People in the plane would be like, what the hell is that noise?
They would probably do. I mean, I don't think they bark and get all excited. Really, I think they usually tone down, and down during transport. I've never heard of a situation where, I'm sure there has been situations, but I don't think they really get barking that much once they're in there because it's dark. It's very low lit or dark, and it's just quiet. You can hear like a hum of a plane, the motors, and that's it. So I don't think it gets them that excited. The more exciting part for them would be probably being transported too, because unfortunately, you've got things, you've got forklifts, you've got, they're transporting things all around, machinery and stuff.
Yeah.
But once in the cargo hold, I think they probably quiet
And the
down.
cargo area is temperature controlled, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Interesting. I know there's some airlines or not airlines, but privately owned airplanes that do a lot of rescue transport, and the whole plane is just dogs in crates in those rescue transports. So pets fly all the time, right? Every single day there's a pet on a plane, an animal on a plane somewhere. Right. And I think that, we have some airports like JFK here in New York has a massive pet facility that I think it was like $45 million when they built it.
God, that's an outstanding place. It's I'm going to say basically an advertisement of him, the Ark at JFK.
Right. Thank you. I couldn't think of it.
Amazing. Great location. I've toured the facility. There's nothing like it. We need to have more of those in the United States. They're perfect. So they provide 24-hour care. They have a veterinarian on staff. They're amazing. So, yeah, places like that.
I also think that, as somebody that now I'm starting to travel again. I've gone on a couple of trips since late fall last year. And the one thing that it's not necessarily uncommon to see somebody walking along with a dog, right, in an airport. Mm-hmm. Whereas 5 years ago, you'd be like, oh my God, there was a dog in the airport. Now it's like they have the doggy relief area. They have a quiet area, so I really love that more airlines and the industry itself is catering to more and more pet travel. And it's not as uncommon. And I feel like everybody kind of calms down in the airport when they see a calm dog walking through the airport. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And, there's also initiatives. I don't know if you're aware of Mars. Mars has they have a pet friendly initiative for cities,
Yep.
and they're also adding it to airports. So they're trying to make pet friendly airports, which is amazing, and it should be more pet friendly. And it said that the premise behind it is really more responsible pet ownership. Now, yes, there was a time where there were no pets at the airport. Then there was a time where there was a lot of pets in the airport when the emotional support plus the service animals.
Peacock.
During that middle time frame when that was going on, some things that you didn't want to see inside the airport that weren't always responsible pet ownership and everything. So I hate to say it, but yes, I'm happy we are now service animals and that's all taken care of. And I think also now going forward with the pet friendly initiatives, I think it's going to be great as far as transporting pets.
So in that, what is one thing that all pet parents can also understand with pet travel a little bit better?
I'm sorry, say it one more time. Say it again.
So what is it that like the average pet parent could understand a little bit better about pet travel?
That with preparation, it is not as bad as you might think it is in your mind, that you just need to prepare your pet. So don't think that, don't treat your pet like a piece of luggage. You just shove it in there and think everything's fine. Right. Prepare your pet for air travel. A lot of times there's a lot of us that travel quite often. We stress out about it, but maybe not as much. We don't think about it as much, but it's like so common now that we travel. When you bring your pet along, you have to realize you have to get them ready. It's going to take weeks to get them comfortable being to confinement, and there's preparation needed. And just don't think I just need a crate, I need a health certificate, and that's it. And I'm going. Don't do that. Take the time to prepare your pet for air travel. Make sure they're fit to fly, healthy, get all the documentation in order, and also make sure they're, like I said, acclimated to the crate and they're in the appropriate crate for their size and also it's airline compliant. Then everything will be fine.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Those are, it's so important to know all that. And then one other thing I would add is know where a veterinary clinic or veterinarian is, where you're traveling to.
That's extremely important to do. You want to know that and not beforehand and not be at that location trying to find some assistance, because that's really important. And also prepare in advance and make sure if you're staying in a hotel, make sure they allow your pet to stay there, because a lot of hotels are pet friendly, but they might have guidelines of what they consider the pet they want there. So search that too.
Yeah. Yeah. It is getting, but I have to say, as somebody that owns a larger breed dog, although to me, he's not that big. Your dog is probably bigger than my dog. The hotels have definitely gotten a lot better, because, 5-6 years ago, it was like a needle in a haystack trying to find a pet friendly hotel that allowed my dog. And now he's been to multiple hotels and they practically roll out the red carpet for the dog over the people. It's really funny. So I think that pet travel, I feel like a lot more people want to travel with their pets. They don't want to leave their pets behind, especially people that have gotten pets during the pandemic, maybe first-time pet parents. So I think your website, When Pets Fly, is such a great resource, because now people can really look at that and say, this is a veterinarian-owned website who her whole career is pet travel and safety and protocols. So if anybody watching, we'll put the link into Nelva's website, and make sure you also join her Facebook page as well. But I think it's really important that you have that. It's such a great resource. So is there anything that I didn't ask you about When Pets Fly or about your career in the pet industry as a veterinarian that you would like to share?
I think you hit it all, to be honest with you, Nancy. I can't think of anything else. Again, I just feel strongly that as far as in the airline industry, there's room for veterinarians to be working here and to assist with animal transportation. And also, well, that's my main thing. I'll stop there. We're needed in the airline industry for animal transportation issues.
That's really cool. One other question about that. Do they talk about that at all in veterinary school? I know it's been a while for you, but I wonder if any veterinary schools handle anything with the travel.
The most we handle with travel or knowledge of travel is the filling out the health certificates and becoming, you could say in a sense, becoming a USDA veterinary accredited veterinarian. Steps for that. Okay. And that's one main thing that as far as accreditations, veterinarians, we need to make sure we keep it up to date and keep that going to sign the health certificates. But when I was going through vet school, again, many moons ago, that was the main thing there for us, is as long as we have our veterinary accreditation and keep that going and learn about that. That was about it. So, but yeah, it needs to be, well, you need to understand that there's opportunities for us in different industries and, in a sense, find areas and go in there. I always just say this one thing, veterinarians, whenever there's animals involved, a veterinarian, in my opinion, needs to be involved. I mean, if you go to a zoo, there's going to be a zoo animal veterinarian there.
Right.
An aquarium, there's going to be probably an aquatic veterinarian there. So now we're going to the airline industry. There needs to be veterinarians there because animals are being transported. So we need to be in that environment as well to help with policies and procedures and regulations. So we're needed.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if anybody in the veterinary school world is watching, definitely reach out to Dr. Nelva Bryant because, like I said before, you're like the pioneering veterinarian in the airline industry. And I think if we have more schools that offered that area, because there's so many ways as a veterinarian, you can be small animal, large animals, like you just said, work in zoos, aquariums, equine, like there's holistic, there's so many things for the veterinary practice that you can go down. If you also added another area and having that area of airline, I think it would be pretty cool. Okay, so what is your favorite thing? I have a couple of fun questions for you, and then we're going to wrap it up. What is your favorite thing about working in the pet industry?
In the pet industry, meeting all the different people, really, just getting to know different people, learning their backgrounds, and what brought them to where they are right now.
Yeah.
I told you, I think I shared with you beforehand, you say in the pet industry. I was like, am I included in the pet as a veterinarian? Yes. I didn't feel included in the pet industry because it was always separate. But you're right. Veterinarians are in the pet industry, and the amazing thing, the great thing about it is just how we all work together to benefit animals, basically. So I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, you are definitely. It's just another branch of the pet industry. Yeah. I remember when you said that, I was like, "What? Yes, you are." Yep. So, what is a daily non-negotiable habit that keeps you grounded that you like to do? I know you don't have much time, but
I like sleep.
I love the honesty.
I like to sleep. I'm trying to get back. I used to work out quite often. I slid off. I'm trying to get back to my schedule on that.
You and the whole entire world in the last 2 years. Don't beat yourself up.
But it seems as though since the pandemic and since everything, I value my sleep time. I value my bed. It's very comfortable. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so here's a good one. What is the best piece of advice that you have received, if you can think of that?
A mentor of mine mentioned to me, until you find as far as job settings, until you find your manager to support you and really support your initiatives, keep moving. You haven't found your spot.
Love it. Love it. That's great advice. All right. Well, Nelva, thank you so much for being here. How can people that are watching connect with you?
Well, there's When Pets Fly. Let's see, the website I'm sorry, it just established, so I'm trying to make sure I remember. The website is whenpets.com. You can email me through whenpetsfly@gmail.com. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome.
That's
and they can connect with you on LinkedIn.
And also, Facebook. Yes, I have Facebook, When Pets Fly, and soon to come, probably social media presence with Instagram and LinkedIn. So, yeah.
Awesome. And your personal LinkedIn account as well. They could connect with you here on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Well, listen, I think that what you're doing is invaluable for pet parents and also for the airline industry. I love that people have a resource now to go and ask questions in your Facebook group. Go to your website, whenpets.com, to really understand what they can do to prep themselves to go and travel with their pet. I think you're doing an amazing work, and I know you're working like 7 days a week. You got to start taking a couple days off here and there
right.
yourself.
Right, but yeah, right.
But I just want to say thank you so much for being here. It was so good to see you. And guys, just a show note for next week. It'll be Tuesday, May 17th, and we have Liz Murdoch from With the Dogs on. Again, Dr. Nelva, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.